Welcome you to this deep dive where we explore the fascinating, bewildering, and utterly brilliant world of Finnegans Wake. Today, we're taking on a particularly vibrant section, Chapter 2, pages 42-47. Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the Ballad of Persse O'Reilly. You know, its surprising origins, its raucous public debut, the scandalous accusations it levels, and of course the intricate layers of meaning Joyce embeds within, well, pretty much every line. Think of it as a shortcut, maybe, to understanding a pivotal moment in the wake where the central figure, HCE, truly takes shape in the public eye.
Exactly. And this isn't just about, reading the text. It's about experiencing the text as Joyce intended. This section marks a really crucial point. It's where the whispers and rumors of HCEs fall from grace. That's Humpty Dumpty and Earwicker, of course. Whispers, which previously lay hidden in the social unconscious, they just burst into the open.
And carried by this ballad, right? This popular song.
Precisely. Carried by a scurrilous popular ballad. We'll see how a seemingly simple song becomes this complex mirror reflecting Dublin society, history, human nature, everything. Get ready for some serious aha moments, because Joyce, well, he doesn't hold back.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Start at the very beginning of the ballad's creation. We find Hosty described as a new man after a sound night's sleep and a hearty ham breakfast. He's one of three vagrants shuffling through Dublin's chilly city to the melodies of the busker's crude fiddle. So, right from the jump, we're immersed in the street-level grit of Dublin, aren't we?
Absolutely. These opening details, they immediately ground the narrative in a very specific reality. We're right there, street-level life of Dublin, where, musicians and vagrants are just part of the daily tapestry. It sets a tone of ordinary, maybe even struggling life that's about to be disrupted by something extraordinary and quite public.
Yeah, and that contrast you mentioned, the king's loyal subjects with their mouths open.
It's exactly in appreciation of this long-awaited Messiah. It's wonderfully ironic, isn't it? It already hints at a public hungry for sensation, maybe for a spectacular fall. It's this contrast between the mundane and the momentous, really preparing us for what's to come.
As their journey continues, what happens next is, well, it's a wonderfully characteristic Joycian touch. The group pauses at a pawnbroker's where the songster redeemed his remarkable false teeth. End quoting. Okay, beyond the biographical nod to Joyce himself, who apparently got false teeth around 1923, what larger theme might redeeming false teeth suggest? About the characters or, the nature of appearances in the wake?
That's a keen observation. And yeah, on one level, yes, it could definitely be a personal detail from Joyce's life. He loved putting himself in there. But more broadly, the word redeem here is key, I think. It implies getting something back, usually after a payment, right? And pledge in this context can mean an item pawn, not just a promise.
Ah, right. So it's not just about keeping a promise.
Not necessarily. So on one hand, it's a very human detail about living hand to mouth, where even something as essential as false teeth might be pawned for immediate cash. You can picture it. On another, it hints at these cycles of poverty and need where, short-term fixes override long-term commitments. But for the wake, it also subtly links to later themes of appearance and disguise.
Oh, so...
Well, false teeth are about presentation, aren't they? How one faces the world. Redeeming them is like reclaiming a facade. It suggests that what we see on the surface might always be something that's been temporarily borrowed or, put back in place. It adds this layer of ironic moral choice to these characters. Quite clever.
Interesting. From there, all three men vanished into a licensed premises in Essex Street, the old Sots hole, where a fourth man joins them. This is Mr. Delaney, described as a casual and a decent sort that was just after picking up the weekly insult. So we move from the pawnshop to the pub, a classic Dublin trajectory, really. What does the old Sots hole and this new character Delaney tell us about the environment, the place where this scandalous ballad is about to be forged?
Well, the old Sots hole is just a quintessential Dublin pub setting. A real house of call, as Joyce puts it. It's where life unfolds, where stories, rumors, songs are spontaneously exchanged. It's not a fancy establishment. It's the kind of place where working-class Dubliners gather.
Right.
And casual labor and weekly insult, that great Irish phrase for wages, immediately tell us about Delaney's economic status. He's an everyday man, a had-been variety, just paid, ready to spend his bit of cash. So this isn't high society gathering. It's the ordinary working class, which adds to the grassroots, almost rebellious nature of the ballad's genesis.
Meaning it comes from the people.
Exactly. From the ground up, not from the established elite. That's important.
And it's here that the decent sort, Delaney, stands stimulants, JJ&S, A clear reference to John Jameson and Sons' Dublin whiskey. After luncheon and a few quick ones just to celebrate yesterday, a whiskey-fostered friendship quickly forms among these rascals. So, alcohol, the great social lubricant, becomes the catalyst for creation here.
Indeed, yeah. This boozy camaraderie is crucial. Alcohol lubricates not only their newfound friendship, but also the creative process itself.
Hmm?
It highlights how the ballad, a piece of low art or a pasquinade, a lampooning satirical piece, emerges from this very earthy, convivial, and maybe somewhat disreputable environment.
Sounds about right for Joyce's Dublin.
It perfectly encapsulates a certain side of it, doesn't it? Where conversations, rumors, songs are born in the haze of a pub, and the act of standing drinks, bearing the expense, reinforces this sense of immediate, maybe fleeting community. A communal loosening of tongues that just sets the stage for gossip and, well, creativity.
The group finally traipsed out flushed with their freshly formed, whiskey-fostered friendship, laughing and wiping their lips on their sleeves. Hosty, referred to as Brown, leads, while O'Mara, the small executive, trails, cap in hand in the rear like a sad postscript. Even these seemingly casual descriptions feel incredibly deliberate. What do these parting details add to our understanding of the ballad's origins?
They're remarkably precise, aren't they? That executive detail, it hints at someone who has fallen from a position of authority, which mirrors the very downfall we're about to hear about HCE.
Good point.
He's cap in hand, suggesting deference or humility maybe, but trailing like a sad postscript. That adds a touch of melancholy. Perhaps it foreshadows his own lesser insignificance in the grand scheme of things. It's another subtle example of what Joyce calls a coinciding contrary. This celebratory exit tinged with an underlying sense of loss or diminished status. It subtly prepares us for the theme of fallen greatness.
So, from this wonderfully Irish, booze-soaked Genesis, the world was soon to be richer with a brand new ballad. The lay of the vilest bugger but most attractive avatar the planet has ever had to account for.
Wow. That's a powerful, almost shockingly contradictory introduction to HCE. What does it immediately establish about our central figure?
It's an instant character sketch, isn't it? Sets the tone for the entire wake. HCE is simultaneously called a vile bugger, implying something contemptible, maybe even a stutterer from the French bégailleur, perhaps a criminal. And yet he's also the most attractive avatar, like a divine descent to earth, a figure of compelling charm and presence.
So repulsive and magnetic at the same time.
Exactly. This immediate contradiction establishes HCE as this enigmatic, flawed, yet undeniably magnetic central figure. Everything revolves around him. The ballad isn't just about his vileness, it's about his irresistible, almost mythological attraction. It shows how public perception can hold two completely opposing truths at once. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Once the scandalous ballad was composed, what was the chosen setting for its dramatic public debut? And what significance did Joyce imbue in that location?
The setting for this inaugural performance is hugely symbolic. It's a place just packed with historical and political resonance for Dubliners. The text points to, under the shadow cast by the monument of our dead legislator, Daniel O'Connell.
O'Connell, okay.
But then, immediately, Joyce introduces ambiguity, suggesting it could also plausibly be Parnell's monument.
So Joyce is intentionally muddying the waters right from the start. Why this ambiguity between O'Connell and Parnell, and what does that Eleutheriodendron spare, woodman spare interjection add?
Precisely. This ambiguity is classic Joyce. He's inviting us, you, to consider multiple historical layers. O'Connell, yes, known for commanding single-minded supercrowd, a great historical legislator. But Parnell, the should-have-been legislator, is equally relevant. Perhaps even more so in a visionary sense of what might have been for Ireland.
The fallen hero.
The fallen hero, exactly. Then the text layers on Eleutheriodendron, spare, woodman, spare. It's a Greek reference to a free tree and a poetic plea. This strongly alludes to Gladstone's hobby of felling trees.
Gladstone, the British Prime Minister.
The very same. And crucially, his political role in chopping down Parnell, whom Joyce saw as a betrayed national hero. So it immediately politicizes the setting. It links the performance to Irish nationalism, betrayal, the memory of fallen leaders. It even subtly references Shelley's unacknowledged legislators. This isn't just a physical location for the ballad, it's a historical and political landmark. It frames HCE's downfall within the larger narrative of Ireland's own struggles and betrayals. It's deeply symbolic.
Wow, okay. And the audience itself is a spectacle. Joyce describes it as an overflow meeting of all the nations in Leinster, fully filling the visual area, a single-minded supercrowd easily representative of all sections and cross-sections of our Liffey-side people. What picture is Joyce painting of Dublin society here? Why such an exhaustive, almost overwhelming description of the crowd?
He paints an incredibly vivid and diverse picture of Dublin society, doesn't he? A swirling, chaotic, all-encompassing image. And the exhaustive detail serves a crucial purpose. It demonstrates that HCE's condemnation isn't coming from a single, unified voice, but from the entire, complex, and often contradictory collective consciousness of the city.
The whole city is there.
Pretty much. We see it in the blend of characters, like slips of young Dubliners from cut Perse-Oreille having nothing better to do than walk about with their hands in their knee pants, sucking airwhackers, wheel-licit jumbo bricks.
Jumbo bricks, what are those?
Well, extra-large bricks, maybe for throwing at Earwicker, but potentially also early contraceptives, believe it or not. Joyce loves those double meanings. Even the mention of fully filling the visional area hints at the glaucoma theme in Finnegans Wake, caused by excessive fluid pressure, which Joyce linked to his own eye problems. It shows the sheer scale of the gathering, filling every available space and sense. It suggests this overwhelming public consensus against HCE, even if that consensus is itself a jumbled mess.
And it's full of fascinating juxtapositions, those coinciding contraries we keep talking about. You have truant officers cohabiting with their students. For instance, a delightful paradox suggesting, well, malfeasance right there in the crowd.
Exactly. Joyce floods us with these contrasts. And the insight here, I think, is that he's showing us that reality itself is a blend of opposites. He's forcing us to constantly question what we perceive as truth and embrace a more fluid understanding. We see it in the wine shop and cocoa house, poured out to brim up the broaching. Cocoa was a temperance drink, right?
Right.
So direct contradiction.
Right.
Or people searching for a crust of pawn, a crust of bread, symbolized by the pawnbroker's 3 woolen balls mingling with busy professional gentlemen, palesmen, dwellers in the English-controlled Pale, often seen as Moscow by natives wearing dundrearies, those long side whiskers, and nooning toward dailies, a famous Dublin club, fresh from snipe hitting and mallard missing on Rutland Heath, references to bird hunting. Is everybody.
And the contrasts extend to the religious and social spheres, too. There are mass-going ladies from Hume Street in their chairs, sedan chairs, which were disappearing in Dublin by 1841, which is ironic since Hume was a famous atheist.
That's another beautiful example, a perfect coinciding contrary. It forces us to engage critically, question assumptions. We see wandering hamalogs, simpletons maybe, or perhaps legs of ham from the Irish amalog, and an oblate father from Skinner's Alley mixing with bricklayers, a Fleming in Tabnet Fumont with spouse and dog. There's an aged hammersmith with chiselers, children, cudgel players, and even sheep with the braxy, a fatal sheep disease. This overwhelming array just shows that HCE's fall is a truly communal event. It encompasses all strata and contradictions of Dublin life, from the highest to the lowest, the pious to the profane.
It's almost as if every corner of Dublin society is represented, creating this mosaic of opinions. Then we have these 4 broke gents out of Simpsons on the Rocks, meaning bankrupt, which is another bitch paradox, as Simpsons was a swanky London restaurant, but also a Simpsons hospital in Dublin for the reduced but respectable.
Exactly. Another layer.
And then a portly and a pert, a distinguished gentleman and a sweet young woman, tassing turkey coffee and orange shrub in Ticka's door, tasting coffee or a drink at Hickey's Confectionery. It just keeps layering the contrast, doesn't it?
It does, and it's deliberate. Joyce is not only showing us the full spectrum of society, but also highlighting their inherent contradictions. We see Dublin poplin manufacturers, Pym, Fry, Elliott, Atkinson, suffering hell's delights from the blains of their annuitants' acorns. That's inflamed swellings, calluses, and annuities, a painful commentary on economic hardship. Then, a deuce of Dianas ready for the hunt. 2 Dianas, goddess of the hunt, or maybe 2 Annas, and a particularist prebendary, pondering on the Roman Easter, the tonsure question, and Greek unions.
What's that about?
That refers to the historical tension between indigenous Irish religious practices, Celtic particularism, and the centralized authority of the Roman Catholic Church, a huge debate that shaped Irish identity. And of course, a lace-lappet head or 2 or 3 or 4 from a window, ladies observing the scene, their status shown by their fine lace.
And then my personal favorite, a line that just perfectly encapsulates this Joycean paradox. A few good old souls who, as they were juiced after taking their pledge over at the uncle's place.
Oh, that's masterful, truly. Juiced means drunk,
yeah.
Right? But they've just taken a temperance pledge, direct contradiction, classic coinciding contrary. However, uncle's place is slang for a pawn shop. So the pledge could refer to an item pawned for drinking money.
Ah, so they pawned something to get drunk. after taking the pledge.
Possibly. So they haven't technically violated a temperance vow in that specific sense, maybe, but they are clearly under the spell of liquor. It's a marvelous bit of Joycean wordplay where the meaning subtly shifts, like a visual illusion, depending on which interpretation you focus on. It keeps us constantly reevaluating, a perfect microcosm of how Joyce forces us to embrace ambiguity.
And there's also a deeply personal reference, isn't there? With a half-sir from the weaver's almshouse who clings and chat clings to her, a whole dam's cloud-hued petticoat, as child, as curiolator, as Coach O'Leary.
This is deeply biographical, yeah. It points to Joyce himself, blind, like Coach O'Leary, a blind old piper from an Irish poem. Dependent, Eugorius. The weaver's almshouse is a clear nod to his incredibly generous patroness, Harriet Shaw Weaver, who supported him financially.
So he's putting himself in the crowd.
Almost a self-parody, yeah. Joyce as a man kept by women, contrasting the half-sir, a term for maybe the son of a landlord, not quite a gentleman, with the whole dam, like the opposite of a half-sir, but maybe also whole dam or even dam as a female animal parent. It evokes a scene from a dream Joyce had about Molly Bloom rejecting him, with him clinging like a child to the clouds that are your petticoats. It shows his ability to weave his own life, all its vulnerability, into the fabric of the wake.
Okay, so before the ballad itself, there's this moment, a signal for silence. Mr. Delaney, the decent sort, pipes a quiet mountain air on his flute. During this, the Dr. Hitchcock lifted aloft his hat, exposing a silver coil among the curls of his wild and molting hair, and gestured to his companions for silence and to the loud fellow, Hosty, to step up.
This feels almost like a mock religious ceremony about to begin.
It absolutely does. The Dr. Hitchcock was a well-known Dublin organist. His silver coil hints at a hereditary whitelock, a motif connected to HCE's identity, a snowy-crested curl, and his action of hoisting his fezzy fuzz like a fez, maybe suggesting a cup at bludgeon's height. It acts as a symbolic signal, almost like a religious sign, mimicking the lifting of the communion chalice at the moment of consecration.
Wow.
It's an ironic silentium in curia, silence in court for a trial about to unfold. This moment is imbued with a mock religious solemnity, setting the stage for the sacring bell to be heard as the trial begins. And the canto is then chantied there, chorused and christened by the old toll gate at St. Andrew's Street and Church. A significant location you mention, the site of the Norse Parliament, Thingmote.
Yeah, this further cements the deep historical roots of the event. The Thingmote was a Viking assembly point. It connects HCE to ancient invaders and the very foundation of Dublin's history, the chanting, chorusing, and christening. It formalizes this performance as a momentous, almost ritualistic event, giving this popular ballad the weight of an ancient pronouncement, a public shaming that feels both modern and timeless.
And then the audience's reaction, a true Joycean masterpiece of sound.
Ah, yes. One of Joyce's famous 100-letter thunder words. It's just this onomatopoeic, multilingual crash of sound. It represents both the primal sound of the universe's creation and destruction, and in this context, the tumultuous applause. Possibly even a glass crash from someone dropping a beer glass in their excitement, maybe like in Ibsen's An Enemy of the People.
It's just chaos.
Utterly chaotic, yeah. A visceral sound that perfectly sets the scene for the ballad's content. It signifies the explosion of public opinion, the momentousness of this collective condemnation. It's literally the sound of a reputation falling, the whole world reacting to HCE's downfall.
So after all that incredible buildup, the stage is set, the crowd is roaring. What did this momentous ballad, the Ballad of Persse O'Reilly, actually say? What were the accusations that brought HCE down?
What's fascinating here is how quickly the ballad cuts to the chase. It lays out HCE's alleged crimes and character flaws with brutal efficiency. It's not subtle at all.
Starting with the title itself, Perse O'Reilly, which is a pun, right? On the French, Perse-Oreille, meaning earwig.
Exactly. That immediately links to our protagonist, HCE. Establishes his public image as this annoying, persistent, maybe even insidious figure. It's the first clue that his downfall is rooted in something seemingly small and irritating, like an earwig, which then grows into this massive public scandal. It's an immediate derogatory nickname that sticks, a constant buzzing in the public ear.
The ballad wastes no time, opening with a comparison to Humpty Dumpty, who fell with a roll and a rumble and curled up like Lord Alofa Crumple by the butt of the magazine wall, hump, helmet, and all.
Yeah, that evokes the irreparable fall of Humpty Dumpty, doesn't it? A universal symbol of collapse, the inability to be put back together, and Lord Alofa Crumple. It's a brilliant blend of Oliver Cromwell, the Lord Protector, and Olaf, the first Norse king of Dublin. with crumple suggesting maybe a hunchback.
So, a fallen ruler.
Framed as a fallen ruler, connected to figures of both historical power and physical deformity, it signifies a total and utterly undignified collapse of his stature. And the magazine wall refers to the wall of the Phoenix Park magazine, a significant Dublin landmark, making the fall distinctly local.
The ballad continues. He was one time our king of the castle. Now he's kicked about like a rotten old parsnip.
Oh, it's brutal. This line directly uses the children's game, King of the Castle, and refers to Dublin Castle, the historical seat of British rule. It effectively shows HCE's previous position of power, maybe as a figure of authority like a bailiff or keybearer, now completely debased and ridiculed, reduced to something worthless and discarded. It's a quick, sharp image of his lost status.
And the ballad predicts his grim fate. From Green Street, he'll be sent by order of his worship to the penal jail of Mountjoy.
Green Street Courthouse, yeah. Famous because Robert Emmet delivered his speech from the dock there. And Mountjoy Prison, a prominent Dublin jail. The line also plays on penal and penile, adding this layer of sexual innuendo to his legal troubles, suggesting both punishment and, well, emasculation. And the fact that Emmet was actually sent to different jails emphasizes the symbolic nature of this predicted fate for HTE. It's a public disgrace that will play out in the courts and prisons of Dublin, a truly humiliating end.
So the ballad isn't just listing misdeeds, is it? It feels like Joyce is creating a caricature of public morality itself. What's the deeper insight into how society judges its figures through these accusations? Like HCE's schemes for to bother us, slow coaches and immaculate contraceptives for the populace, mare's milk for the sick, 7 dry Sundays a week, open-air love and religion's reform, hideous in form.
That's a brilliant way to put it. Joyce is absolutely creating a caricature of public morality. And the insight here, I think, is that public judgment often lumps together the trivial and the profound, the absurd and the genuinely scandalous, all under the umbrella of moral failing. These are HC's public crimes, right? A catalog of perceived nuisances and moral failings. Slow coaches implies inefficiency, being slow-witted. Immaculate contraceptives, that's a hugely loaded phrase. Contrasting the Immaculate Conception with birth control, which was illegal as highly controversial in Ireland.
And you mentioned Dunlop earlier.
Yeah, this links to the Dunlop Tire Company, known for making both tires and condoms, hinting at his perceived moral corruption and a desire to control even intimate aspects of life. Mare's milk for the sick might sound benign, but 7 dry Sundays a week implies total prohibition, a surefire way to make anyone unpopular in alcohol-loving Ireland. Open-air love and religion's reform are clear attacks on his moral and religious orthodoxy, suggesting scandalous behavior and heretical ideas. And hideous in form just serves as this collective condemnation, visually and morally repulsive, wrapping all these disparate accusations into one ugly package.
The ballad then features an interjection, almost a rhetorical question from the crowd. Why, says you, couldn't he manage it? I'll go bail, my fine dairyman darling. Like the bumping bull of the Cassidys, all your butter is in your horns. This is a rather crude but direct attack, isn't it?
Well, it's very direct and quite vulgar, yeah. This uses a Welsh proverb, the butter is in the cow's horns, meaning she gives no milk. It's a direct, cutting attack on HCE's masculinity and capability, suggesting impotence or failure to provide. The bumping bull further emphasizes a clumsy, perhaps ineffectual virility. It underlines his perceived lack of essential power or effectiveness, a complete emasculation in the public eye.
So the ballad isn't holding back on his character flaws, but now it turns to his business dealings. How does Joyce use these details to further erode HCE's public standing? The ballad says, we had cha-cha chops, chairs, chewing gum, the chicken pox and china chambers, universally provided by this soft-soaping salesman. Small wonder he'll cheat Erwan, our local lads nicknamed him, with his bucket shop store down Bargain Weg lower.
This section expertly blends commercial failure with moral turpitude. He's depicted as a soft-soaping salesman, one who flatters but is untrustworthy, with a bucket shop store. That implies an unauthorized broker, or maybe a cut-price goods retailer, suggesting deception, poor quality, undercutting the market.
Untrustworthy.
Totally. He'll cheat Erwan is a direct phonetic echo of HCE and Samuel Butler's Erwan, meaning nowhere, reinforcing his untrustworthiness and elusive nature. China chambers, or chamber pots, a vulgar detail further diminishing his standing, associating him with base bodily functions. And Bargain Weg lower suggests Lower Baggot Street, a shopping area, but historically also the site of Dublin gallows, grimly foreshadowing his fate. The alliterative list of goods, chops, chairs, chewing gum, chicken pox emphasizes the cheap, sundry, almost unhygienic nature of his offerings, paints him as a low-class charlatan.
The ballad then predicts his downfall in a very concrete legal sense. Soon will bonfire all his trash, tricks, and trumpery, and cheat his short till Sheriff Clancy will be winding up his unlimited company with the bailiff's bomb at the door, bim bam at the door, then he'll bum no more.
Trash and trumpery? Yeah, rubbish, worthless stuff. Sheriff Clancy was the real-life Dublin sub-sheriff, associated with legal executions and winding up companies. And unlimited company implies full personal liability, unlike a modern limited company, meaning his personal assets are at risk total ruin. The bomb and bim-bam, that onomatopoeia for the bailiff's knock, also plays on bum, meaning to beg or loaf or even sodomize, deepening the humiliation and suggesting his utter ruin and lack of recourse. It's a vivid image of financial and personal collapse.
Beyond his alleged misdeeds, the ballad also targets HCE's very identity, specifically his foreign origins. Sweet bad luck on the waves washed to our island, the hooker of that hammerfast Viking, and Gaul's curse on the day when a Blana Bay saw his black and tan man-o'-war on the harbor bar. This is highly charged, connecting him to historical invaders.
Absolutely. HCE is branded as a foreign invader, an unwelcome presence. Hooker could be an Irish fishing boat or a Viking ship with a hooked prow. Hammerfest is a Norwegian port, emphasizing his Scandinavian roots. Gaul's curse means a foreigner's curse, or maybe God's curse. But most damningly, black and tan man-o'-war links HCE directly to the notorious British paramilitary force during the Irish War of Independence.
Wow, that's serious.
It makes him a symbol of hated oppression and foreign interference. Blana Bay is an ancient name for Dublin Bay. He's not just an unwanted interloper, he's a Norwegian camel-old cod, representing centuries of foreign domination and colonial resentment. It's a powerful way to tap into deep-seated Irish historical grievances.
Then the ballad turns to a truly scandalous sexual indiscretion. It was during some freshwater garden pumping, or according to the Nursing Mirror while admiring the monkeys, that our heavyweight heathen Humphrey made bold a maid to woo.
Yeah, this is a direct allusion to a real-life scandal.
Yeah.
The tenor Enrico Caruso was fined in 1906 for indecent conduct at the New York Zoo monkey house. So this connects HCE to a well-known public sexual transgression. Emphasizing his heathen and heavyweight nature, Caruso was indeed a heavyweight. The general lost her maidenloo, puns brilliantly on maidenhood and Waterloo, signifying a loss of innocence and a decisive defeat for the general servant or maid involved. The monkey house also subtly connects to Chimpton, part of HCE's name. It's a vivid, humiliating accusation that resonates with real-world scandal.
And the ballad adds another layer of embarrassment, a public gaffe. He was jolting by Wellington's monument, our notorious hippopotamans, when some bugger let down the backtrap of the omnibus, and he caught his death of fusiliers with his rent in his rears.
This sounds like a painful public humiliation. It is. Intensely so. Wellington's monument, another prominent Dublin landmark. Rutorious hippopotamans combines notorious with hippopotamus, highlighting his clumsy, bulky nature, and maybe that German childish word for buttocks, popo. Underscoring his clumsy and morally compromised nature, the bugger letting down the backtrap of the omnibus. It's a shocking image, implying exposure of his buttocks perhaps for buggery or maybe just a public embarrassing exposure, leading to him catching his death of fusiliers, a cold, but also maybe soldiers, and a rent in his rears. That could be a tear, an exposed anus, or even a debt being in arrears. It's a deeply humiliating public incident that further cements his scandalous reputation, almost a grotesque physical manifestation of his fall from grace.
The ballad finishes by contemplating the consequences for his family. 'Tis sore pity for his innocent poor children, but look out for his Mrs. Legitimate. When that fru gets a grip of old Earwicker, won't there be earwigs on a green?
Fru. Yeah, it's a blend of the German Frau, woman-wife, and shrew, hinting at a formidable, perhaps vengeful wife. And wigs on the green is an Irish phrase for a sharp altercation or fight. Here escalated to big earwigs on the green, signifying a massive public scandal involving his entire family. There's also that subtle pun on bigwigs, important people, indicating the scale of this disgrace. The innocence of his children is contrasted with the impending wrath of his wife, suggesting a domestic reckoning that will publicly compound his personal ruin.
And finally, the ultimate condemnation and symbolic burial. Then we'll have a free trade, Gales band, and mass meeting for to sod the brave son of Scandic knavery, and we'll bury him down in Oxmanstown, along with the devil and Danes, with the deaf and dumb Danes and all their remains. It's a complete repudiation.
Indeed. Free trade was a controversial political issue in Ireland at the time. Scandic knavery combined Scandinavia with knavery, emphasizing his corrupt foreign origins and the villainous nature attributed to him. Oxmanstown was a part of northern Dublin where Osman, the Viking invaders, once lived, and also the site of a deaf and dumb institute, hence deaf and dumb Danes. This is a complete repudiation, a symbolic burial of HCE and everything he represents, consigning him to a place associated with foreign invaders and those incapable of speech or hearing, effectively silencing his memory and denying him a voice in history. He's being banished from the collective consciousness.
The ballad concludes on a note of utter futility for HCE's redemption. And not all the king's men, nor his horses, will resurrect his corpus, for there's no true spell in Connacht or hell that's able to raise a cane.
Yeah, this directly echoes the Humpty Dumpty nursery rhyme, reinforcing the idea of irreparable damage and permanent downfall. Raise a cane brilliantly plays on raise Cain, make trouble, and raise again, resurrect, along with the biblical Cain and Abel, suggesting he's beyond salvation or revival, associated with primal transgression. And Connacht or hell, that's a chilling reference to Cromwell's infamous decree for Irish landowners to hell to Connacht, signifying no escape, no magical solution, no hopes of returning from his state of disgrace. His downfall is total and permanent, both literally and symbolically.
So this incredibly dense and scandalous ballad, how did Joyce portray its rapid spread, and what deeper insights can we gain from his linguistic and thematic genius in these pages?
What's fascinating here is how Joyce doesn't just present the ballad, he meticulously details its dissemination, turning a simple act of spreading news into this complex cultural event. It's not just information moving, it's a story taking on a life of its own.
The ballad was privately printed at the House of Delville in Glasnevin on a broad sheet of white paper, headed by a rough-and-ready woodcut. So, initially private, yet intended for public uproar.
Precisely. The private printing immediately suggests its controversial nature. Delville was famously where Jonathan Swift's The Legion Club was printed because no other publisher would touch it, a clear parallel that enhances the scandalous impact of Hosty's ballad. The rough-and-ready woodcut and blancovide, that pun on black on white, blank white, and blanco white, a Spanish-Irish priest, highlight its raw, urgent production, designed for rapid, widespread distribution like a broadsheet. Joyce also meticulously lists various colors in the source material: red, white, brown, rose, blue, black, pink, green, underscoring the visual vibrancy of its spread, making it feel almost like a physical entity moving through the landscape. The use of rhyme press also subtly connects it to a wine press, hinting at the intoxicating effect of the ballad. It's a calculated explosion of public opinion.
And soon after, wind-blown copies were circulating freely up and down every lane and bore the length and breadth of the 4 or 5 green corners of the United Counties of Ireland. This imagery of dissemination is highly poetic, suggesting an almost unstoppable force.
It's an incredible transformation, isn't it? Turning simple distribution into a mythological event. The rose of the winds and the blue of the gales references compass cards, strong gales, and the blue painted picks ancient Celts of Scotland. It shows the ballad permeating every corner of the land and consciousness, carried by the very forces of nature. Indicating its unstoppable spread, the 5 Pussyfours green refers to the ancient 5 provinces of Ireland, now 4, and also subtly alludes to that children's game, Puss in the Corner, where the puss tries to capture a vacated space. It suggests the ballad is everywhere, inescapable, seeping into the very air.
This spread is described as going from archway to lattice and from black hand to pink ear, village crying to village. These are incredibly rich, contrasting images for how gossip and scandal travel.
They are, and here again we see those coinciding contraries at play. Archway in Roman times could be synonymous with prostitutes, while lattice, a window, often suggests chivalric courtship or observation, like Gertie and Molly in Ulysses. Blackhand refers to criminal organizations, starkly contrasted with an ingenue's blushing ear. This shows the ballad reaching every social stratum, from depraved corners to delicate ears, emphasizing its pervasive and insidious nature, touching all levels of society. The phrase village crying to village evokes the ancient Gaulish method of spreading news through shouts, highlighting the oral tradition and communal urgency of the ballad's impact. It truly becomes the talk of the town and beyond.
As we step back, what aspects of Joyce's linguistic artistry are most apparent in these pages? And how do they deepen our understanding of this chaotic world he's built? Let's start with the multilingual play, like Lubin or Fellow Me Leader.
That's a beautiful example of his multilingualism and cultural synthesis. It blends Irish lubines, chorus songs of occupation with German leader songs, and the children's game, Follow My Leader. It instantly blends Irish folk tradition with European high culture, a signature of the Wake. It also plays on correctly, suggesting that this lubine is the more correctly identified form of the ballad, emphasizing its authenticity in popular culture. This linguistic layering means you're constantly hearing echoes of different cultures and times, enriching the text possibilities enormously.
And that recurring theme of coinciding contraries, we keep coming back to. It's woven throughout, making us constantly question simple interpretations.
Absolutely, we saw it everywhere. In the audience description, wine shop, cocoa house, truant officer students, hue mass, juiced pledge, and in the ballad spread, archway lattice, black hand, pink ear. The description of the portly and apert tasting drinks in Tickey's door is another example, that distinguished gentleman and sweet young thing together. These constant juxtapositions force us, you, the listeners, to engage in critical thinking, question assumptions, embrace ambiguity. Meaning is often found in the tension between opposites. It's a foundational Joycean principle, preventing any single, simple interpretation, reflecting the complexity of reality itself.
Joyce's use of puns and portmanteau words is also on full display. Each word a little puzzle box of meaning.
Indeed. Think of Eleutheriodendron, free tree, but also Greek for free. Jumbo bricks, bricks for throwing, but also jumbo tiles, and perhaps early contraceptives. Purseful, purseful, but also a pursed mouth for playing an instrument. And Perse O'Reilly. Peacefold, peaceful, manifold, beautiful. And Scandic knavery, Scandinavia and knavery. My favorite might still be Rotorius hippopotamans, combining notorious with hippopotamus, and that German childish word for buttocks, popo. These aren't just clever, they're essential to how Joyce builds his universe, greatly enriching the text's layers of meaning. He's compressing an entire world into a single word sometimes.
And the sheer density of allusions is mind-boggling. From ancient Roman roads to Irish history, even literary figures. Given this incredible density, is Joyce making a point about how intertwined past and present truly are, or maybe how difficult it is to separate a figure like HCE from the historical narratives that shape him?
Both, I think. And that's the insight here. It's a testament to Joyce's erudition, and his belief that all the history is happening simultaneously, echoing and replaying. We've encountered Roman roads, Watling, Ernan, Icknold, Stan, leading mainland minority travelers to Dublin. Irish historical figures, Parnell, Gladstone, Cromwell, Clancy, the Black and Tans, Mountjoy. Celtic particularism and religious debates. Literary references, Shelley, Yeats, The Rose of the World, Echo. Ibsen's An Enemy of the People with the Glass Crash. Chaucer's The Miller's Tale, and Plimadrol. This deep dive into just a few pages becomes a microcosm of Western culture, history, and mythology, demonstrating how the past constantly informs the present. It suggests that HCE isn't just an individual, he's a locus where all these historical and cultural forces converge and repeat.
And the characters themselves are multi-layered, with the HCE having numerous nicknames. It's almost as if everyone has a different profile picture for him online, each highlighting a different facet of his public persona.
That's a perfect analogy. The fluidity of identity is a core theme in the Wake. HCE is called Vike, Lynn, Finn, Lug, Bugdan, Lop, Lex, Lax, Gun, Gin, Arth, Barth, Colnol, Sol, Will, Wall, He'll cheat Erewhon, Humphrey, Hippopotamans. The list goes on. This constantly shifting identity reflects how public perception shapes an individual, making him a composite of rumor, history, collective imagination. It's a deliberate deconstruction of fixed identity, showing him as every man. Even Delaney is given multiple identities. Joyce is telling us that identity isn't fixed. It's a constantly evolving narrative told by countless voices.
And we can't ignore the risque details and sexual innuendo woven throughout these pages. They're often crude, but always integral, aren't they?
They are. Joyce masterfully uses these elements like the silent flute, which was slang for penis, played by Delaney. Screw, meaning sexual act, implied in inscriptions. Tootle on the flute, suggesting intercourse, a reference from Ulysses, and that backtrap of the omnibus incident implying public exposure or buggery. He uses them not just for shock value, but to highlight the scandalous nature of HCE's reputation and the underlying sexual anxieties within society. It's often crude, yes, but always integral to his complex portrayal of a man accused of profound moral failings, often with a sexual component. These elements show how deeply personal and primal the public's judgment can become.
Finally, the musicality and sonic impact of these pages are just extraordinary, right down to those thunder words.
They immerse us completely. The ran as an ancient Celtic verse form. The chorus, king of all rans, echoing the wren, the king of all birds. Joyce uses sound and rhythm to immerse the reader, you, in the oral tradition of storytelling and song, making the experience visceral. The clip, the clop of the applause, the thunder word, the detailed descriptions of instruments like His Majesty the Flute, that one crooned king of instruments, all contribute to an auditory landscape that makes the ballad's performance leap off the page. It's an entire acoustic environment that enhances the chaotic, festive, yet condemning atmosphere, making us not just read, but hear HCE's downfall.
So what does this all mean? We've journeyed from a Dublin pub through a chaotic public performance, heard the scandalous accusations of the Ballad of Persse O'Reilly, and unpacked some of Joyce's incredible linguistic and cultural density.
The key takeaway, I think, is this. Through these few pages, HCE emerges as a figure of immense complexity and contradiction. Simultaneously, the vilest bugger and the most attractive avatar. His public fall isn't a simple event. It's a swirling vortex of rumor, political commentary, sexual scandal, historical echoes, all filtered through the collective consciousness of a vibrant, flawed city. It's a powerful statement about how reputation is forged and destroyed, and how what might start as a weekly insult can escalate into a full-blown mythology.
It really highlights how Joyce uses every single word, every pun, every historical echo to create a text that is both deeply rooted in Dublin's everyday life and incredibly expansive in its human concerns. It's a true shortcut, like we said, to being well-informed about the scandalous, beating heart of the Wake.
And it encourages us to consider, how does this scurrilous ballad, what we might consider a low popular art form, become such a profound vehicle for examining identity, guilt, public perception, the very fabric of society? Joyce challenges us to embrace ambiguity, to question assumptions, and to find meaning in the constant interplay of coinciding contraries. He asks us to rethink where true art and profound insight can actually be found.
For you, our listener, here's a final provocative thought. The Ballad of Persse O'Reilly serves as a blueprint for the entire Wake.